Today is December 8th, 2024, and welcome to the 418th episode of the So Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. Me? My name is Brad Galloway, and I'm the one-man host of this show. I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Thank you for joining me today. Hello, welcome back. As per usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I discuss tidbits, news items, industry happenings, anything randomly game adjacent that's caught my eye in the last 7 days. And there's not a whole lot. I think we're kind of still in the Q4 doldrums, and I don't want to just read press releases. So just a couple things really quickly before we get to the main portion of the show. Oh, actually, we got questions too. We'll get to those in a second. So first, I just want to give an apology to all the listeners for last week's show, episode 417. I think it was a fun show. It was a really well-intentioned show. But it was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing to have my wife on, and as much fun as it was to record with her, we just did not have the proper setup, and I thought we could kind of squeak by and just make do with one microphone, and that was just woefully inadequate. I went back and listened to the audio, and it was like even worse than I thought, even after I tried to fix it up. So I apologize. Hopefully this week's audio is better, and I'm sure that we'll have Gina on the show again at some point in the future, but I will definitely have a second microphone. That just didn't work. That was an experiment that was like pure fail. So I really do apologize for the audio being so bad. I know it was just really, really rough. I listened back to the whole thing and I was just shaking my head in embarrassment about how bad it was, but hopefully it wasn't like torture. Hopefully you got some enjoyment out of it. If you listened, if you didn't, I don't blame you. It's no problem, but, we will not do that particular experiment again. So apologies for that. The only other thing I want to bring up in housekeeping right now is that I'm honestly a little surprised. We've all seen Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the new Indiana Jones game just about to drop. It hasn't even dropped yet. It's coming out, I want to say tomorrow as of the day of recording, so probably December 9th. We saw shots of it, trailer footage of it a while ago. Xbox was showing it off. I believe this is coming to us from the same people who did the recent Wolfenstein games, which honestly I was not a fan of. And, most people who saw the trailer, myself included, were kind of like, meh, whatever. Like no one really was getting that jazzed about it. And to be perfectly frank, we did get offered a review code here at Game Critics, and I turned them down. I didn't want it. I think partially because it just didn't look that great from the trailer that we saw, but also the more substantial reason was because in order to play it on Xbox, we would have had to go through the whole Xbox whitelist rigmarole, and that was just a nightmare when we tried to do it for the Elden Ring DLC. I know I talked about it a couple times on the show. Not going to get into it again, but it was basically a catastrophe that really fucked my Xbox, and it got locked out of some features for a while. It just was a huge pain in the ass. And I swore I would never do that again, so I refused to do the whitelist process again. Just said flat no. But also, I knew it was coming to Game Pass. It's coming to Game Pass tomorrow. It unlocks. You can download it tonight. But the reason I bring it up is that basically everybody who has played it ahead of time was like, oh shit, this game is actually really dope. And I'm like, what? It's good. I mean, I thought it'd be like, okay. But apparently it's pretty fantastic. So that got my attention. A lot of people in the gamosphere, review sphere talking about it right now. I think we're all kind of collectively surprised that it's apparently better, way better than we thought it was going to be. Now, I can't confirm because I did not get the early code, as I just said, but I downloaded it already. You can download it yourself. You can preload on Game Pass and just have it ready to roll. I believe it's a pretty big install. I don't remember what it was, but it seemed like a pretty chunky one. And then it's ready to go tomorrow. So we will see. Just heads up, you can download it now if you wish, and we will see if all the hype is worthy, or is this just one of those late Q4 games when people get excited, maybe overly excited just because something's coming. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but every once in a while, you'll get a sense that like people decide this is the game that we're going to get excited about for whatever reason, whether it's really deserved or maybe it's kind of like a counterculture move or whatever, or a joke gone wrong perhaps. And then everybody kind of dogpiles on and says it's good, even though maybe it's not that good. Or maybe it really is that good. Who knows? I don't know. So one more day and we shall find out. But Indiana Jones and the Great Circle available for download, and it activates in less than 24 hours, I believe. All right, folks, that's it for housekeeping this week. Just a quick one. But before we crack into the main portion of the show, I do want to give you a heads up. There is a Videogames Patreon if you'd like to support the cost of hosting and running the show. Even $1 helps, a euro helps, that much more. If you want to pitch in, you can do that over at patreon.com/the Videogames podcast. Let's see. Do I have some questions? I do have some questions. I also have some questions before we get to the main portion of the show. My bad. I almost forgot about these. And in fact, I owe another apology because I asked for questions 2 weeks ago because I did not think I would have much to talk about last week. And then at the very last minute decided to have the wife on because it seemed like we had a lot of games in common. So I could kind of like get a show out of that. And I did, although it sounded like crap. But I saved those questions. I'm not going to get to all of them right now because everybody was really generous with the questions. And thank you to everybody who sent some in. I'm just going to get a couple out the door right now. And then we'll get on the main portion of the show and continue from there. First one comes from Elijah, who is in the Discord, also sometimes writes for GameCritics.com. Great guy. He's also a heck of a writer himself. He's been writing a lot of stuff lately. And in fact, unless I am mistaken, he is the author of an upcoming book. I don't believe it's out yet. Maybe it is. I don't think so. It's called Make Us Whole, The History of Dead Space, which is pretty wild. He probably knows more about Dead Space than anybody that I personally know. So heads up on that if you're interested in Dead Space. Give that a look-see once that's ready to go. But no questions about Dead Space today, about a totally different topic. His question is, and this is just one of many. He sent in like a million. But he said, would you ever be interested in trying a prototype version of a canceled game? And if so, which one? So I might have had a different answer several years ago, but I've kind of moved on in mindset since then. If you had asked me, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago or whatever it was, I think the thing I probably would have said was StarCraft Ghost. I know I've never been like the biggest StarCraft fan, although I did play some for a little while. And I like the art design and the aesthetics of it, although at the time I didn't realize it came from 40K. And that's probably why I kind of dropped it and moved on to 40K stuff, is because that's really where StarCraft got it from. But I didn't know that at the time. At that time, I'm not sure that I was even aware 40K existed. But regardless, was kind of a StarCraft fan. And they were taking one of the units in StarCraft, which was a top-down RTS, and it was the Ghost unit, and they made a character out of it. It was like if memory serves, kind of like a lady in a skin-tight outfit with some armor, and she had some stealth powers, and, you know, obviously like a play off of what that particular character does in the base game. And it was like a third-person action-y. I remember it was getting a lot of hype back then, and people were really excited for it. And I don't even know what happened, but like we got, you know, pictures and pictures and talk, and then something happened and they just dropped it. Like it just stopped moving forward. We never saw a playable version of it. Maybe there's a playable version somewhere. I don't know how far along it got, but I do know it was on everybody's radar for quite a while. So if I had to pick one, I probably would pick that, but only if you had asked me like 10 years ago. If you were to ask me this question today, and oh shit, I guess you did, totally different answer. My answer would be no, I am not interested in trying a prototype version of any canceled game. I guess the reason for that being, I think I'm not just older. I don't know if that older has anything to do with it, but I think I'm busier than I was back then. You know, back when I was younger, you know, maybe pre-kids, maybe even pre-married or whatever, you know, you got time, you're a single person out on the go doing whatever you want to do. And, you know, I had way more time to deep dive into things and figure things out and look at things and research things. And I think my schedule is just kind of busy these days. I'm pretty full with the games that get sent my way that are full versions. And I don't know if I've ever said this. I'm sure I must have, but at Game Critics, we almost never touch the early access versions of games. I mean, we will to make an exception here or there. Maybe sometimes there's a developer that's a friend of ours, or maybe we'll see a prototype of something, early access game that like is just mind blowing. Maybe it's already fully featured and is complete except in name only, or maybe there's just something that's just really magical about. I mean, you know, every once in a while, I'm not going to say never say never, but I will say that we almost never look at early access games at Game Critics because there's already too many games that are fully complete, right? I don't want to waste time on a game that isn't finished, that may be substantially different. And why would I waste time looking at something and doing a write-up on something or making a video of something or talking about something that could be quite different by the time it comes out to a finished 1.0. So we don't even really look at those. We don't do very much early access coverage. And so, you know, along that same line, I really wouldn't want to spend any time with a canceled prototype unless it was something that was like amazing or something that I desperately wanted. Like, you know, like if Kojima was like, oh, you know, hey, Death Stranding 2 was like 98% feature complete and I canceled it because I'm Kojima. would you like to play this? I'd be like, okay, yeah, I fucking love Death Stranding, and I would be curious to see what you're going to do with that. But at the same time, I kind of wouldn't want to, because then you start to feel like, what could have been. Like you get that taste of something that could have been, and then it's not. And then all you can do is like pine for it, right? Like, oh man, I wish that game had been finished. Oh, I wish I could play this thing. I think almost for me anyway, it's better just not to know rather than to get a little taste of something and then not really be able to enjoy it or participate in it. I think it's just kind of heartbreaking that way. And there's just so many other things that are in 1.0 that need attention all the time. I mean, I know I've said this before, but Game Critics gets way more codes than we could ever use. I think we've got more than 20 people on staff. I haven't even counted how many people are on staff right now. And even with 20 people on staff plus me, we have so many codes that just go unredeemed every week. So many games we don't try, so many games we don't request. And so I feel like with that situation happening, I can't really justifiably ask for any early access stuff. And then therefore I would never want to spend time on a prototype because that's not even in early access, right? So I feel like there's so many needy things out there that deserve attention. I wouldn't want to play that. And also it would just be disappointing, because what if it was amazing, right? What if it was an amazing game? What if the canceled prototype of Death Stranding 2 was like the best thing I'd ever played? And then I would just be heartbroken for the rest of my life that I could never finish it and never play it. So I wouldn't want to do that to myself. So that's my answer today. And that was also my answer back then. Hopefully that satisfied you. And again, sorry for hanging on this question for so long, but I am glad I got around to it. Good question, honestly. Next question comes from John over in Reykjavik, Iceland. He of Gaming in the Wild, which is basically my favorite podcast right now. And if you're not already listening to it, I doubt that, because I think with all the Spotify Wrapped and all the recent year-end coverage, John and I end up in the same bucket pretty often. I spend a lot of time in his Discord. He pops over in our Discord. So I feel like there's a lot of cross-pollination going on. If you haven't listened to Gaming in the Wild, definitely go over there. It's a great show. Love that show. And his Discord folks are some of the nicest on the internet. So props. John's question was, I have a big one that might be a whole episode if you're up for it. I'm not going to do a whole episode, but I will answer it right now. Could be a very list nerdy exercise, but how about looking back at all of your previous games of the year and ranking those into a GOAT chart? Greatest of all time. Good question. So John obviously knows that I write lists. I'm a big list guy. I know that he is too. So before I get into the details of this, I do want to say that I did cover some of this stuff. Not John's question exactly, but if you don't want to hear about all of my top 10s, I did a show about this recently. It was episode 405 of So Video Games. I talked for like a long time about my various evolution in taste, what games used to be my favorite, which ones used to be on my top 10, which ones are no longer on my top 10. So go ahead and check that out if you want even more like list madness. There's tons of stuff you can listen to. But this will be a slightly different focus because, as John said, take my previous games of the year and rank them all into a greatest of all time chart. So, good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before. And I am going to answer this right now. And it will not take a whole episode. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. So, there were a lot of ways I could have gone with this. But I've been playing games for 40 years or something like that. And I didn't want to go all 40 years because that would just be really monstrous and just be big, whatever. I don't know that I even have records going all 40 years back. I don't think that I do. But what I did do is I went back the last 10 years. That seemed to me to make a lot of sense. We like to do lists in increments of 10, and I figured going back 10 years, that would give me one game to put into each slot for a traditional list. And so let's just keep it to the last decade of games. And if you did not listen to episode 405, I'll read off my top 10s of the last 10 years quickly to give you context, and then I shall categorize them. 2014 was Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, and Goodbye Despair. Those were two games, but they both came out in the same year, and they did connect to each other, so I kind of counted them as one whole experience. Then it was 2015 was The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, which is an all-timer for me. In 2016, something funny happened. I had a three-way split because I had such great experiences that year. I honestly could not choose between these three games, and they were all so different. I just was like, fuck it. I'm the editor. I can do whatever I want, and I'm going to just choose these three to split. So in 2016, it was Overwatch, The Last Guardian, and Let It Die. Three-way split for first place there. In 2017, this one was, I don't want to say it was a cheat, but it was kind of a special situation. I picked Warframe, the free-to-play space ninja game. It's really, really long running, but I had discovered it in that year. I had just jumped aboard. It had already been out I believe it was a launch title for the PlayStation 3, if I can recall. And I remember it being really rough back then. I tried several times to get into Warframe, couldn't do it. And then I finally got aboard with the help of Patty and CJ, two friends of mine from Twitter. What's up, guys? If you're listening, hopefully you are. They kind of walked me through it. And then another friend, Michael Prain, helped me get into it. And then a couple other friends. And I am blanking on the names right now, and I really apologize. The memory is just not what it was. But there's a couple other folks that really helped me like get into it. And it was like a really, really monstrous barrier to entry. It was really tough. Arcane systems. It had been kind of kludged together and updated over the years. But 2017 was the year that I finally made it over the hump with the help of basically everybody in my community. And then I was like, oh my God, this game's fucking amazing. And I really feel like I should include it somehow. And I wasn't really sure what my take was going to be because it's a live service game, continuing experience. It's still around today. And I was like, I mean, does it count? I mean, because I wouldn't have picked it back when it debuted, but it's still here. And it's a tangibly different experience now than it would have been then. So I'm like, fuck it, whatever. Warframe 2017, or at least the 2017 version of Warframe, was one that for me was a fucking incredible experience. 2018, Into the Breach, basically a perfect turn-based tactic situation. Zero criticism that one. It's like it's a masterpiece. 2019 was Control. I'm sure that John is smiling right now. I know he likes Control. I like Control. I'm not a big Remedy fan. I think they whiff more often than they hit, but Control was a great one. 2021 was Yakuza Like a Dragon, where they kind of reboot the whole series. Nothing but love for the original series for sure, but I felt like the reboot was great. They kind of changed up the mechanics, kind of made it more of a turn-based thing. And the new hero Ichiban was great. I just loved him right off the bat. So everything about it was just like having a fresh start with this series. I really loved it. I thought it was fantastic. 2020 was Yakuza Like a Dragon. My bad. 2021 was Black Book. This one would probably come as a surprise to a lot of folks. This was a Kickstarted game from people who were in Eastern Europe, and it brought a lot of Slavic myths and legends. It was a card-based, kind of like a deck builder, but also like an RPG. And it was also like a history lesson on Slavic myths. And it was just like the most incredible experience. It was so fucking different than everything else that was out there that year. It told an amazing story of a girl who was dabbling with a life of witchcraft. And the way they even handled the witchcraft was just incredible because it was seen through the Eastern European lens and not the Western lens. And it was just like an entirely different experience, like talking to villagers, meeting demons. And the story just like it fucking went places that you never would see in the West ever. And when I got to the end game, I'm like, there's no way they can do this. And they fucking like did it. And again, I'd be like, there's no way they're going to do this. Oh, they fucking did it. It was incredible. Black Book is just like one of my all-time favorites. It is so different. It is so out there, but it is so fucking fantastic. Rough edges for sure. But man, that is just like captured me that year like nothing else. 2022, Citizen Sleeper. This one is a favorite. I think it's just a modern classic. The tale of an artificial person going to a distant space station and kind of making their way, starting from nothing, but building community, building relationships. Really, really fantastic. It has some board game elements, which I thought were incredibly well implemented, and I'm a sucker for that type of game anyway. Great story, great art, everything about it's great. Like just another one of those like basically near perfect experiences. I'm not sure if I even had any criticisms of that one. I might not have. It might be a perfect game. I'll have to go back and check, but it's up there if not. And then in 2023, the Lamplighters League. Oh my God. Like if you would, there is no game that is more my shit than this game. It was like the 1920s adventure period. There's some Cthulhu stuff. It's turn-based tactics. It's got this amazing art style. Like literally everything about it came from Harebrained Schemes. It had a very rough launch. They, Harebrained kind of had a falling out with their publisher, I believe, and that led to a lack of support. The game launched in a really like incredibly broken state. But the fact that I kept playing it, even though it was so broken, I'm talking like hard crashes, loss of save and stuff like really catastrophic stuff. But I hung in there and kept playing. And we talked about it in the Gaming in the Wild Discord for quite a while. And eventually the developers patched it. They were working like labor of love type patch. I'm not sure they were even getting paid at that point, but they patched it. And the final version was super playable. Not perfect, but like it was playable for sure. And it was just like a fucking amazing experience. It was like my shit to a T. I don't know that I could have created a game that was more my shit than this game was. I mean, I maybe, but man, it came so close. So what a fantastic experience. So those are my the material for which I'm drawing what shall be known as the Goaty Goat list, GOTY Game of the Year, but also the greatest of all time, GOAT. This is not the Goaty list, it's not the Goat list, it's the Goaty Goat list. So here's how I would rank these, John, specifically for you and for everybody else that's listening too. And please note, we did have 12 games ultimately because of the three-way split that happened in 2016. So, all right, number 12, Overwatch, because, I don't know, it's just over, kind of toasted. Cool when it was there, but it doesn't really hold a place in my heart anymore. 11, Let It Die. Similar, great while it was there in the time period. It's kind of fallen apart. They didn't have a good end game after I beat the game. Various other reasons, and the developers kind of just like let it go, let it die, let it go. Warframe number 10. It's probably still great. I just have fallen off of it because it's just hard to keep up. It's almost like a full-time job. I still love it, and I still dream of going back to it, but I just haven't yet. Number 9, Danganronpa, because, I mean, excellent visual novels, great storytelling. No particular reason, just the other ones are just like stronger. Number 8, Yakuza Like a Dragon, really fun. Enjoyed it so much. The great characters. Number 7, Control, great, like X-Files, kind of weird mystery. Difficulty curve was a problem for a while, and I don't really care for any of the DLC and a little bit of his Remedy being on their bullshit again, but still an amazing game. So 7. Number 6, The Last Guardian. It's a little bit too long. The monster AI is, I think, unparalleled to this day. I think it's amazing. So I really love that a lot. Had a marvelous time with that, although I do not think the story necessarily came through all the way in the end. I think there was some weird fudgy stuff that happened there. Number 5, Into the Breach. It's perfect. Number 4, Black Book. It's fucking amazing. Number 3, Citizen Sleeper. Also amazing. Number 2, Lamplighters League. And number 1, Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. And I hear John going, no! And smashing his fist against the desk. Brad, how could you? I know you don't like this one, John. But I had to do it because I think it's just a fucking phenomenal game. And I get it's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's totally fine. I respect anybody that doesn't care for The Witcher 3. But man, some of that writing is just fucking incredible. Like really like groundbreaking stuff in video games. Some of the quests were just so great. So much richness. Something amazing around every corner. Like there was just like the density of content in that game was fucking bananas. Like a cool side quest, and not just like a collect 10 rat pelts or bullshit. Like it was like a story where you would have a moral decision at the end, and you'd really like agonize over it. And just like everywhere you fucking turned, there was something that really demanded your attention. And it's just like Geralt himself, an amazing character. Yennefer, an amazing character. Triss, an amazing character. Like all the characters are like really so great and memorable. The quest is so great. I had a big problem with how they pulled off the ending. Didn't care for the ending, but like the ending only came after like 200 hours of gameplay or something like that. And I got to say the DLC, Hearts of Stone, one of the most incredible things I've ever played in the history of games ever, ever, ever. Hearts of Stone to me, it just raised the bar so fucking high. Like I don't know that anybody has even approached what they did in Hearts of Stone, which is weird because people say that Blood and Wine is a better DLC, and I could not disagree more. Blood and Wine is fine. It's okay. I'm not sure that I liked everything that happened in that DLC, but it was fine. But Hearts of Stone is really fucking next level shit. So Witcher 3 remains probably my favorite game of all time. And that feels pretty correct in my heart of hearts. So there you go, John. Hopefully answered your question. Hopefully gave everyone something to think about. If you haven't played any of the games on my list, I guarantee every single one is a banger in one way or another. So check all those out. All right, last question here in the beginning of the show. Zibby from over in the Game of the Wild Discord says, on a similar vein, I also love to hear your hidden gems of the year or any titles you think are deserving of a bit more attention. You bet, Zibby, absolutely. Now, this is a partial list. It's not a complete list, but I did take a pretty good stock of what I played this year, and I am keeping it to just this year. So 2024. Year's not over. There might be a couple more. Oh, wait, actually, I just thought of one. There you go, the podcast creation process in real time. Gonna run these off really quick, Zibby, and hopefully, grab a paper and a pen, or feel free to rewind, or anybody else listening. These are all games that I thought were just really great this year. They may or may not be on my top 10. Many of them won't be, but I thought they were all deserving of love, and I had a great time with each and every single one of these. Some of them I plan to come back to, some of them I won't, but they're all good stuff. And there might be a couple in here that were released like in fourth quarter of 2023. I don't really like write the dates down or anything, but they're probably close enough. So if we're talking 2024 and something came out like in December of 23, I'm just going to lump it in here just because that's how I roll. Okay. All right. Quickly through the list. Rogue Trader, Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, fucking incredible CRPG. It's one of the greatest Warhammer games ever made. You don't even really have to like know Warhammer that much. You'll get a lot more out of it if you know it, but what a fucking huge, deep, detailed, amazing fucking experience. I actually can't wait to get back to it. I put it on a hold. I think I had put in like, I want to say 75 hours, and I was like nowhere near the end. And I'm like, okay, I need to like move on to something else for a minute. Rogue Trader is fucking amazing. Bonson Knights came out this year, but honestly, the whole Pixel Pulp series I think is fucking fantastic. These are visual novels with really striking high contrast pixel art that is just amazing. They're an interconnected universe, kind of like an X-Files sort of a theme. Great stuff. Captain Velvet Meteor came out this year. I think literally nobody played this except for me. It was a based on an anime property that I was not familiar with, and it took a bunch of anime properties actually and kind of blended them together in a story about a boy who moves from France to Japan and is having trouble acclimating. That's not really what it's about. It's really about strategy and turn-based tactics in a way that I have not really seen before. It's very fast-paced, and introducing speed to turn-based tactics is something that has not really been done before. So great stuff going on there. Classified 44. Top-down turn-based tactics set in World War II with a really great morale system that I've never seen before. Great storytelling and good characters, great systems. It's rough, but I think it's a really fun play. Regency Solitaire. I don't know this one came out this year, but came out recently. This is like a solitaire game, perfect curl-up-in-bed game. There's kind of a Bridgerton vibe going on where you play a girl who is meeting various suitors and talking to like the upper crust of society, but you also play solitaire, but she also like finds these little artifacts that give you superpowers when you're playing the solitaire. I mean, you know, it's not going to like revolutionize the genre or anything, but I thought it was quite well done, and I was having a lot of fun doing the different solitaire events. There's different types of solitaire. Some of them are like, you know, purely only able to be done through video games, and it was just a really fun kind of curl up under a blanket and play a game. Really had a great time with that one. Sandland, which is the Namco Bandai RPG based off the anime of the same name. Great stuff. I think it's really, really fun. It's an open world, but you have lots of vehicles. You have lots of fast action just running around. The story is great, doubly so if you've played, or not played, but you've watched the anime. It really connects in. It's just a great, super accessible, fun, action-y RPG experience. I don't know anybody's played it besides me, maybe Carlos back in the day perhaps, although Carlos didn't care for it too much, but I thought it's great. Rusted Moss. This is a 2D Metroidvania with grappling hook physics. Really great story. It's got a story about post-apocalyptic, but there's also fairies, but there's also magic, but there's also, I don't know, relationships and stuff. Cool story, cool action. I love the map. I love the physics of the hook. Good stuff. Capes, which I talked about, and I will talk about again. This is turn-based tactics with superheroes. Excellently done. Time Melters, which is a third-person, real-time sort of action game that has like a little bit of everything, including the kitchen sink. There's like time rewind mechanics. There's some RTS mechanics. There's some shooter mechanics. It's just in a weird story. I mean, it's like everything. They collected scraps from like 17 different games, put it in Blender, and made Time Melters. When it kind of works, and it's really interesting. It's rough, but it's really interesting. Vampire Therapist. I've heard like nothing about. I think it's fucking fantastic. You play a cowboy who becomes a vampire who wants to become a therapist. And then you go to meet one of the older vampires in existence to learn about how to become a better person. And then you do therapy using actual psychiatric and counseling techniques, which I think are great. I have worked in the psychiatric field for like 12 years. And a lot of the shit they were saying was dead on. And so it was really cool to see that actual content being made into a game, which is goddamn funny, which has amazing art, a little bit of sexy time in there. Really good stuff. Shogun Showdown, the turn-based roguelike 2D, kind of bucking the system there, where you have like hand-to-hand combat, and you kind of build a deck out of cards to kind of like do those moves. A lot of like moment-to-moment time management in that game. It's really killer. 63 Days, which is a strategy which carries on the Me legacy. So if you want like these really big kind of like action strategy games where it's turn-based, but also there's like real-time elements to it. This is the story of Polish rebels kind of taking it to the Nazis in World War II using the Me engine. Not their engine, but I mean like their system. A lot of inspiration, a lot of vibe from the Me games, which I think are some of the best out there. Final one, Keeper's Toll, which is a a Vampire Survivors like, playing it right now, talked about it last episode. Fucking fantastic game. Several different character classes. Each one has a different setup. Playing them takes some real kind of like focus and skill. Little bosses pop up. There's little challenges that pop up. It's just really, really fucking good. It's a tiny package, small team, I'm sure, but they just fucking go after it. They nail it. And this is probably my second favorite Survivors like, right after Survivors itself. So it's really great stuff. Zibby, I hope I brought a couple games you have not heard of. Hopefully you'll check some of those out. Anybody else listening, these are all really great stuff. Like I said, they may be on my top 10. They may not be. I'm sure some of them will be. But you should check them out regardless. Every one of these is worthy of your time and attention. Okay, that's all the questions for this week. Let's see here. What am I talking about? A couple more things to cover before we get to the main portion of the show. Just little housekeeping stuff here. There is a Videogames Discord. Everyone is welcome to jump in and continue the conversation free of charge. If you want to join, just shoot me a message and I will send you the details, and contact info for that is coming up at the end of the show. All right, I think that's it. Let's get down to it. Main portion of the show. And as everyone knows, I'd like to begin the main portion of the show with circle backs, where I circle back to things I've covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to give you all the details again right now, but just think of this as a quick update to let you know if my thoughts have changed on a game for better or for worse after spending more time with it. The only real circle back I have for today is Keeper's Toll, which I talked about last episode. And if you didn't want to sit through the bad audio, you probably missed it. So I probably will give this one a little bit more coverage than normal, either today or very soon. This is the Survivors-like, Vampire Survivors-like, where you have, I think it's like 8 different character classes. Each one has a totally different move set. And then you go through kind of the same sort of like level by level, but there is a persistent unlock tree that applies to everyone. And then each one has their own individual persistent unlock tree. So you get better as you go. There's also a very basic rudimentary quest and a basic story kind of that goes along through it. It's good stuff. And I have to say, I've really been glued to it. Just could not put the thing down. I really like the different character classes. Each one plays a bit differently. They all have little quirks. The archer can shoot forwards and back, and you can like toggle that at will. One of the martial artist guy can heal himself if you hold still, but then that means everybody's swarming you and you're not dodging. The fire guy has like, he heals himself by doing area of effect damage with a little shield he has. So you're kind of playing tag with enemies when you need to top up, so forth and so on. There's lots of little quirks to each character. There's a melee guy, which, man, I just do not understand what his quirk is. I'm still working on that guy, but great stuff overall. I've been really putting a lot of time into it, doing a couple runs each night. It's really, really good. It runs totally fine on the Switch. And I will say that I got to the final boss yesterday for the first time, and that dude is a beast. And I was like, oh, snap. I've gotten through the bosses, actually not too terrible with the bosses. A couple of them I had to do a couple times, but you kind of get their quirks and you learn them, and then, you level up appropriately or whatever, and it's been fine. But this guy is like a step above. It's taking a little bit of a different approach in terms of how I build my character in the level beforehand. And I'm trying to decide which one of the characters is the best build for his particular attacks. Haven't got there yet. I got him down to about a quarter, and I was like, oh, snap. Okay, good. This is really good. But now he crushed me at the end. So anyway, just wanted to circle back and say Keeper's Toll is pretty fucking rad. I think it's really, really good. Said this before, but I think it's probably my second favorite Survivors like, right next to Vampire Survivors. It's a small game from a small team, but they've really got their shit dialed in well. Very few complaints about it. I think the only thing that I didn't like about it is that it's kind of difficult surfacing some information, which is a problem with Vampire Survivors as well. Just sometimes I wish they were a little bit more straightforward about certain things, but it's not a big problem at all. You figure it out after a few goes, and it's all good. It's all good. So Keeper's Toll is the shit. Definitely a big thumbs up on that one, and I'll circle back when I have finished it. The other thing isn't really a circle back, but I did want to just mention briefly that I was playing miniatures, playing it on the Switch. It's a artistic, very artistic game, which, to be honest, I don't really quite have the full measure of. I've heard it's a short experience, which I believe, but I just was not in the mood for it at the time, so I do apologize to the publisher and developers. They sent me a code. I told them I would check it out, and I will. I'll circle back to it, but honestly, Keeper's Toll is just so good. I haven't been playing anything else other than that when it comes to the Switch. But miniatures is a very artistic thing. It's like, I believe it's like 4 short stories that are kind of like visual novels a little bit. You do minimal interactions on the screen, and it's almost like interacting with paintings a touch. I don't know if they're all like that, but the first chunk that I played was like that very much. It was a story, like a bedtime story that you would read to a kid, but kind of like slightly darker and kind of, obviously aimed at older people. It's not for kids, but you kind of read the text and then you interact with stuff on the screen. Very laid back and chill. Interesting. It is very interesting, and I do want to see more of it. I just wasn't in that zone. And I am kind of like slow with covering this one, so I felt kind of bad. Just wanted to give a shout out. But miniatures, playing it on Switch, runs fine. I will come back to it, so you'll definitely hear me circling back in the future. Just wanted you to know it exists. Check it out if you like artistic games. I bet a couple of you do. And again, I will have more to say on that in the very near future. Next up is Albatroz, Albatroz. This one is a strange one, and I'm going to need some more time with it. This is just an initial quick look. This is a game that, honestly, I don't even know what it is. It caught my attention because they kind of build it as like a hiking survival RPG, which I suppose it sort of is, and I really love Death Stranding. So I was like, oh man, okay, well maybe this is kind of like in that same bucket. It's not going to have the Kojima craziness, but it'll have, I don't know, hiking, backpacking, that kind of stuff is kind of interesting to me ever since Death Stranding. So let's see what this is all about. And it is kind of like that, but it's also kind of not. You start off the game with like no explanation whatsoever. You're like driving in a car or something, and you don't know where you're going, and you're like in the mountains or some wilderness, and you don't have like literally no idea what's up. And then eventually you just like have this map and you're just deciding where to go. And then you get out when you can't drive any further. I took a turn. Maybe there's a different way I could go. I don't know. And then I start walking, and I'm a girl with a backpack, and I'm walking. And then it's like, cut to a new scene. And then you're like in her house. And it says like, get ready for work. And I'm like, what is going on, man? What is happening? So I don't even know like what this game wants of me or how I'm supposed to interact with it. So I just walk around in first person, and I'm just like, do you want to brush your teeth? Yes or no? And this will take some time. And do you want to get dressed? Yes or no? This will take some time. And it like subtracts time from the clock. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't even know what I'm even doing here. Like, let's just get to the gist of this, I guess. But maybe feeling confused is part of the experience. And again, this is not negative at all. I was like just confused, and I'm not sure what I'm doing, and just very strange. So eventually it just cuts to another scene, and then I'm hiking again, and I'm back in this town, and I don't know, man. I don't even know what to make of this, but apparently it's like semi-artistic. Maybe it's open world. I'm not sure. Maybe it's about a life story. Maybe. I don't know. I really can't tell. I haven't spent enough time with it. And the time that I did spend, I was like scratching my head going like, I kind of dig this. Like the music is cool and the scenic graphics are pretty cool. Been out in the mountains and forest, and it's all colorful. Pretty sure there's a day-night cycle, I think. And I'm just like, okay, but what am I doing here? What is the structure? What is my goal? I'm a very goals-oriented gamer, as everyone knows if you listen to the show. And so I just was a little bit confounded by the whole thing. But that's not bad at all. It's just unusual and strange, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. So put a pin in this one. I will come back, but I wanted to let people know that I was playing it, and I'm going to just be slowly kind of absorbing the vibes here, and I will have a further report later on. But if you like weirdo, moody, vibey, artistic games, this is definitely one to check out. I don't know how much Death Stranding is going to be in here. Maybe not much, but it is definitely different. That's for fucking sure. Albatroz, Albatroz. Check that one out if anything I said in that jumble of words was even remotely appealing. Next up is an interesting one. It's called Mindcop. This one comes from a small team. It's kind of an indie game where you play a detective. He is the Mindcop, and you are with your assistant, Linda. This is shown from a 2D perspective, and the graphics are really something else. It's very eye-catching. It almost looks like they are cartoons, but not like cartoons on a TV, like maybe like a newspaper comic strip cartoon, like really thick lines, very basic shapes. Mindcop is really short. Looks like he's about 2.5 feet tall. Linda is real tall. She looks like she's like 7 feet tall and skinny as a beanpole. And they are... Well, Mindcop says Linda's his assistant. Linda says she is his partner. That's the kind of vibe they have going on. It's pretty amusing. You go to a small town in the middle of nowhere, like a resort, and a girl has been murdered. You are called in to solve the crime. And again, 2D, really thick lines, cartoony look. And there's interestingly, kind of like Albatroz, there's also a time component here. You have a clock, and then everything you do on the clock will subtract time. So when you first arrive to the crime scene, you see the dead body. It'll be like, do you want to look at the body? I mean, of course you do, because that's what you're there for. It'll be like, this will take 15 minutes, and then it subtracts from the clock. And you're like, okay. So you got to manage your time and you have certain amount of time during the day, like we all do in real life. So I related to that. But you look around and you check the room, different things to click on, and then if it's something important, it'll be added to your stock of items, which hilariously goes inside Linda's coat pocket. She collects everything you pick up, and then if you want to look at those items again, you push a button, and Linda, like, it almost looks like she's flashing you, like she's not naked, but it kind of looks like it, and she's got like 85 pockets inside of her coat, and she like holds her coat open wide open, and you can see all the items stashed in there, which is actually a pretty cool interface. So there's that. You have like a whole bunch of like mental notes about stuff. And then once you finish investigating, you can talk to people. You can ask them questions based on, you have like a beginning conversation. And then if you found items, you can ask them about the items. And if you hear things from other conversations, you can ask them about those things. And then there's also, now here's where you get to the Mindcop. There is a mind surfing part, because Mindcop, when he takes his glasses off, he's got these glowing, spooky, spiritual eyes, and he looks into your soul. And so you can question somebody, but then you can mind surf them as well, which is weird because they don't give consent. He just kind of does it to people, which I guess is a form of like very inappropriate mental intrusion. Mind rape, perhaps? I don't know. But there is a mini game in there. It's like a big brain that kind of looks like you're about to play like a I don't know, a weird version of Tetris or something. Bullets that have different colors get shot in from the side of the screen. A brain in the shape of a square is in the middle, and you rotate the brain in order so that it gets shot by the bullets in a pattern. And if you get 3 bullets of the same color in a row, like a match 3, then those disappear, and it buys you time, because at the bottom of the screen, Mindcop is on a literal surfboard surfing from the left side of the screen to the right side, and you have to stall long enough for him to get there. And if you get him there, then he unlocks the person's mind, and you get a little insight into what's going on. Everybody has 3 doors in their brain. They have the truth, they have something they're uncertain about, and then they have a lie. Everybody has the same thing, so you check those doors out at your will, and then use whatever clues are there, and then try to interpret what those meanings are when you get back out of the brain. Sometimes you'll uncover clues about things to ask people. Sometimes you'll get a lead on something else. And sometimes you'll just be fucking confused because you're like, what did I even just watch? I'm not even sure what that was. Those are all pretty abstract, and they are not just straightforward clues. You have to kind of like interpret what's going on. Pretty interesting stuff. Now, the other thing that's really interesting about Mindcop is, even though the presentation is pretty cartoony and not realistic, I think the approach to detective work is actually pretty realistic. Full disclosure, I am not a detective or a policeman in real life, although I know several, and I have watched a lot of cop shows, so I guess that's my experience. But when you start playing Mindcop, at one point, once you're through like the basic tutorial, a pop-up comes on screen and they're like, hey, yo, if you're the kind of person who writes stuff down on a piece of paper, now's a good time to start. And I'm like, oh shit, these guys aren't kidding. So even though the appearance is really kind of lighthearted and silly, the perfect example being when you want to run from one screen to the other, you hold down a button, and Linda picks up Mindcop because he's like the size of a toddler, and then she like runs across the screen and her coat's flapping behind her. It's fucking hilarious the first time you do it. But despite that comedic appeal, I think it takes a very straightforward and like nuanced approach to the detective work. And in fact, I've played several detective games, and I have to say that out of all the detective games I've played, I think Mindcop is probably the one that is most analogous to what it would be to be a real detective. You're talking to people, they're not always answering your questions, they give you like vague answers. Sometimes they give you something that doesn't make any sense. You got to write it all down. You got to remember the names of people. You got to remember the times where people were. You got to figure out if somebody's telling you the truth or if they're lying. You have the mental ability to surf their brains. And that helps sometimes. If you get stuck, you can use that as a clue. And sometimes you'll get a lead that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten. But like, I think this one is pretty much like a straight up like detective game. Like if you want to feel like a detective, I think this comes close, man. Like you just really got to be paying attention to all the items in a crime scene. You don't have time to look at everything, so you got to prioritize. You got to think about the right questions to ask and try to drive the narrative a certain way. It's very interesting how different that approach is compared to how silly it looks, but it doesn't play silly at all. It plays very seriously. And I was quite intrigued by this. I was pretty surprised, and I was really expecting, oh yeah, a couple questions and you pick up a clue and then you solve the case and move on. And it's like, no. You've got like 5 in-game days to solve this crime, and how you spend that time is totally up to you. And who you talk to is totally up to you. And where you go is totally up to you. You can go back to the same crime scene 10 fucking times if you want to and waste your time, or you can go walk in the woods and hope to find a clue, or you can ask people questions and have them lead you in circles. It felt very much like I was investigating this crime for real, and that was a very novel experience. I haven't solved the first crime yet. I'm still like in the middle of that week. I haven't run out of time either. But man, very fascinating. I would definitely recommend this to crime fans or, anybody who likes puzzles or mysteries. I think this is kind of unique and very interesting. Really liking this a lot. My only complaint, I think, is that... Oh, two complaints. Number one, I do not like the mind surfing minigame with the brain and the bullets. I do not like the way that plays. You can turn it off in the options, which is great, but they kind of do a dirty trick. They don't just turn it off, which I thought meant you would just automatically surf everybody. They actually... It's kind of... I don't want to get into the weeds here, but basically they ask you about how you're leveling up stuff, and so you have to level stuff. And if you don't have the right levels for certain things, it just says you're not able to read this brain. It just like stone cold shuts you out of it. So you still have to engage with it like a little bit, which is kind of a bummer. I was hoping you would just bypass the whole thing, but they don't let you bypass the whole thing. So I think that part is kind of cumbersome, and I wish they'd come up with something else other than the shoot the brain thing. Maybe actually have me surf, or maybe a series of different mini games. But just that one minigame is not great, and I don't like it. And it's really strange because I think the rest of the game is brilliant. And this part just feels like, I don't know, kind of half-baked, I guess. I don't know. And the other part, smaller complaint, but it's like, it's hard to tell how much time you have. You get a little clock, and then everything you do, searching, examining, picking things up, talking to people, it all tells you how much time it takes away from your total. But I don't know what the total is, and I don't know when your day is over. And I think they could be more clear about that. A different way of showing that in the UI to let you know how much time you're losing from the ultimate whole, what time your day is over. I think I need more clarity on that. Maybe the information's there and I'm just not used to it. But from the time that I played, I often found myself going, okay, I know this is going to take half an hour to get the hard drive out of the computer, but how much time do I have altogether? What is my grand total? Like, when do I have to call it a day? Are we talking midnight? Are we talking 8 p.m.? Like, I'm not sure what's going on. And so it's hard to gauge how much time you're spending when you don't know how much you have overall. And again, maybe it's there, maybe I just wasn't reading it right, but I feel like it could be surfaced a little bit better. But overall, those are pretty small complaints. I think Mindcop is quite interesting. It really surprised me, defied my expectations. And anybody who likes crime games, murder, you want to be a cop, you want to solve a crime, anything like that, definitely check this one out. Do not be fooled by the graphics. This one has some pretty interesting meat on its bones for sure. That is Mindcop. Next up is Infinity Nikki, which is free to play on PC and PS5. We saw a trailer for this in one of the PlayStation, I don't know, whatever their event is, PlayStation Now or PlayStation Event or whatever the fuck they call it. I don't remember what they call it, but we saw a trailer for this, and it's like an open world RPG, but they describe it as cozy, although I'm not sure that's the right word. But you play as a waifish teen girl who goes out into this world, and you collect outfits and you talk to people and you solve a million quests, and everything is just really kind of nice and warm and cozy. And I was a little bit intrigued because I do like to play Fashion Souls. That is something I like a lot. And this game seems to have fashion up the wazoo. And also, I mean, free to play, so whatever, give it a shot. You never know. And then just seeing a world where, there is combat, but just like basically wandering around, people are friendly, all the animals are cute, and you want to pet them, and you're just worried about like what your outfit looks like and stuff. And like there's a really radically different focus than most of the stuff I play. So I downloaded it, played it, put a couple hours into it. I gotta say, it was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I'm not sure quite what I expected, but you jump in and Nikki gets sucked into this other fantasy world. Graphics are fucking beautiful. I mean, like the world design is really great. Everywhere you look, it's just like a picture postcard. The outfits that she starts off on are like all like these cute little outfits. She got a green one and a blue one, and she's wearing like a scary red one. And you kind of get this intro where this lady is a prisoner in a tower, and she's like, "Hey, yo, I want to help you. You need to save the universe by doing stuff for me." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, you seem like you're evil, but you want me to do things that sound good. And actually this evil person gives you your powers." She's like, "Yeah, you can use the powers that I'm giving you to change outfits, and each outfit will have a power, and you can do fashion and do the world and stuff." And I'm like, cool. But still you seem very evil. And that is really backed up by when Nikki goes out into the world. Very often you'll meet somebody and she'll be like, oh, I feel terrible because there's like a darkness inside me, but actually I'm fine and things are okay. And so they're definitely laying the groundwork for the person who gives you your powers is perhaps not all that she's cracked up to be. But besides that, it is a huge open world. You get like a couple outfits to start off in the tutorial, and then you go out there, you find doodads you pick up by little side quests. There's puzzles. You find some out in the world by searching. Some you solve by doing quests, and you get some hearts and stuff. Like, you just get all these little doodads, and then you can unlock the blueprints for outfits and parts of outfits: hat, gloves, socks, shoes, dress, vest, whatever, backpack, earrings, anything. Lots of fashion options here. And you can craft those as you go. You pick up like loads of crafting materials as you walk around. One thing that's really nice is if you're looking for a specific crafting material, all you have to do is find it once. And if you can find it once, then you can select it on your subscreen and it'll tell you the areas where you can find more of it. So in case you need to find a spider web or a honeybee or a pine cone or something, it'll be like, oh yeah, just check the item and then go search in this area, which I thought was awesome. I really like that feature a lot. Loads of menus, loads of like stuff to look through, lots of features. I was still like unlocking tutorial stuff like an hour and a half after I started the game. So there's loads of stuff in there. But I think it's just a really easygoing walk around if you want to do some quests and just like work on outfits, like super chill. One thing I really liked about it a lot though is the exploration. You get a double jump suit like almost from the jump, and haha, get it? See, jump, double jump. See what I did there? And you can look around and find items you want to get to. Lots of verticality in this world, and so you do the double jump outfit, and she's like going up buildings and getting on roofs and jumping down and gliding down and all sorts of stuff. You're pretty mobile in the world, which I think feels pretty good. I know there's a bike that takes you places faster. I have not unlocked the bike yet, but you kind of just like walk around, and I think it's just this very, very chill, very cool. I was having a lot of fun, honestly, doing the outfits and stuff. Now I will say, this game is not for me. Like, I am not the demographic for this game, right? So I think that's fine. I was able to get some fun. I think it's a cool design. I think there's a lot to like here. But I will say I did feel slightly uncomfortable that a lot of the people in this world seem like very young to me, the very young skewing. And so I'm like, it's a game, fine, whatever. And that was good. But I couldn't help but think I would like this game more. And this is me personally. This is not a criticism, but like, if all the women in this game looked like they were well over 18, that would make me feel a bit more comfortable, right? Or if they were like not these waifish teen girls, they were like fully grown adult women, that would make me feel a lot better. But that's a different game, right? That's something you get on Steam, you download, you play it when no one else is around. Okay, that's a different game. And I'm not saying this game has to be that. I'm just saying that, like, personally, I got a little bit skeeved out by myself for playing this game because I'm like, this feels a little bit weird that I'm dressing a teen girl. Feels slightly inappropriate. But anyway, maybe that's just my issue. Would definitely prefer it if the ladies were a little bit more seasoned, I guess, if you will. But I think it's really fun. I will say there's a load of like free to play stuff in here. Lots of currencies, lots of doodads to pick up. And to be perfectly frank, I did not even figure out what the currency system was. I was kind of just going from quest to quest, just doing whatever. And that was more than enough fun for me. But there's like limited outfits that you get from like buying unlocks in the store. There's like all sorts of side quests you can do. There's like daily requirements. There's unlocks. There's like some currency you can buy. You have an experience limit per day on certain things. And so I didn't even really interface with any of that stuff. So I can't say whether it's good or bad. I basically just ignored it. And just ignoring all that stuff, I still had like way more than enough to do. I was running around, searching caves. There is combat. One of your suits is a magical purification suit, and you shoot little balls of energy. So you find these little bad guys running around, you blast them with your ball. It's like super easy combat. It's like no big deal at all. And you a little bit of combat, a little bit of jumping, a little bit of puzzles. I don't know, like it's just like this kind of really pleasant place to be. And if you've got like tons of time and you want to just do some outfits and stuff, I mean, it seems like a pretty cool time. I kind of had a good time with it. I don't know that I'm going to continue because I don't have a lot of free time in massive amounts. I'm kind of like, parenting and work and the podcast and game critics and stuff. So I think just a quick dip in here and there is probably all I'm going to be able to do. I don't think I'm going to be taking Nikki all the way to the end of her quest and finding the 13 sacred outfits and, whatever it is that's going on. But it's pretty lovely. It's warm. I think it's a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. And I would definitely recommend it if you like clothes, fashion, outfits. You don't mind hanging out with teen girls, which to me is maybe not where I want to be. So overall, pretty cool though, pretty cool, and definitely worth a shot since it's free to play. The only real big thing I had as far as problems go, besides just have that free to play cruft in there, was that I believe it does pretty frequent checks to the server. I chose the America server because I'm in America, and there was a few times when I noticed like some lag going on. Like I would go into the menu, and one of the menus is when you have multiple suits that have abilities. I had a bug catching suit, I had an animal training suit, I had like a couple other suits or whatever. And so when you want to switch between those, you go into your L2, hold down L2, radial menu pops up, and then you move your stick to choose a different suit. But like that one was hella lagged out. Like I was trying to catch some butterflies that I needed to make for a suit, a dress or something. And I couldn't get off of the animal trainer outfit because the game was lagging. Like it kept trying to like reach the server and it wouldn't connect or something. And so I couldn't change my suit. That was pretty frustrating. When I was trying to adjust her outfit, I wanted to change the whole get up. And at some point the cursor disappeared because again, it seemed like it was trying to contact the server and it couldn't contact. And so that was kind of frustrating, but those were minor blips. They only happened a couple times, although they were pretty noticeable when they happened. But overall, I think this is kind of a winner. I bet a lot of people are going to really like this one. And I think it's good stuff. Maybe not exactly my jam, but still good stuff for sure. So that was Infinity Nikki. You can get that for free on PC and PS5. This next one is pretty unusual. It's a PC game, and you know how often I play PC games. Almost never! This one is called Happy Birthday with Sergio Spellbound. This was sent to me by a developer named Laser Genu, Lazergenu. This game sells for $3 on Steam. That's where I played it on my PC. This one is a fucking hoot. The developer says it's not really a game per se, but kind of like a birthday present in the shape of a game, or maybe a game in the shape of a birthday present. So apparently you gift this to somebody when it's their birthday and they get to play through. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to play through. So a very brief experience, but I will say it was quite funny. So basically I quote unquote gave it to myself since I was covering for the show. You download the game, you open it up, and from the jump, you can tell it's just really goofy and weird. You meet a magician named Sergio Spellbound, and he's got the funniest voice. I'm not going to try to do it here because I can't do it justice, but it's a really, really like intentionally funny voice, and it really cracked me up. He's like a poor birthday magician who shows up at your virtual birthday party, and he wants to do card tricks, and all the card tricks are like terrible. He tries to do a dance party thing, and the dance party thing fails. He's got some helpers who do something else with you, and that just like kind of goes sideways. He can't remember your name. And I gotta say, I literally I was laughing out loud throughout the entire thing. It's really goofy. I think it hit my funny bone just right. And it's such a short, brief experience. Like you're kind of just going through it. Like, what is even happening? What is this thing? Why, what is going on? It's kind of brilliant. I think it's really nice. And I would happily gift this to other people for their birthday or just give it to them for fun. It's just so weird and random. And, you only want to play it through like once or like maybe once. But just kind of clicking through, seeing the goofy stuff that he says, the weird questions that they ask, the mini games. I don't want to say anything to spoil it because with an experience that runs like 10, 15 minutes, I mean, I think even mentioning a couple of the gags would kind of take away from the game. But just trust me when I say I am pretty particular when it comes to comedy in my games, and I think this one was actually quite funny. Now, the only thing that was kind of weirded me out was I got a quote-unquote bad ending to this birthday experience, and I don't know if that's always the ending, or maybe there's another ending. I guess I'm not sure how interactive it is. I did not play it immediately again right after because I had a pretty good experience, and I was fine to call it there. And especially since it's kind of like a virtual gift, I thought that was just fine. But man, the ending got like mega dark, and I was like, oh dude, what? That was very unexpected. I have to assume there might be a good ending. I don't know quite how to get that, but anyway, just wanted to quickly name drop this one. Happy Birthday with Sergio Spellbound. Quite funny, very different and weird, super original. Takes you 10-15 minutes to finish it. Definitely worth the $3. I'm very glad that Laser Genu sent it to me. Because I don't know that I would have found it elsewhere, or it never would have come across my radar. But it was a hoot. I had a lot of laughs. I definitely laughed out loud for sure. And if you want to laugh too, I bet you probably will. So check that one out. Happy Birthday with Sergio Spellbound on Steam. $3, definitely worth it for sure. Okay, so even though I started this podcast on December 8th through the magic of podcasting, It is now December 9th. I held off on finishing the show, not because I had a reason, just because I kind of got tired, but I'm glad that I did because, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle unlocked today, so I figured, oh, what the fuck, I might as well, since the podcast isn't up yet, I'll just keep it back for another couple hours, and then I will play some indie, and then I will cover that in the show, which is exactly what I'm doing now. So, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle from Machine Games, the makers of all of the Wolfenstein stuff, which, full disclosure, I did not care for, was not a fan of. This game is available on Game Pass right now. It is a pretty lengthy download. It took me a little while, and I've got good internet, so it's a big size. But I gotta say, I am eating crow because I was not excited when we saw the trailer for this. I was not excited knowing who was developing for it. I figured, oh, great, another crappy Indiana Jones game. I'll just, whatever, I'll forget about it, move on. I got other things to do with my life. But so many people were all of a sudden saying it was great, like a couple days before it dropped. And I'm like, well, that's a lot of buzz. It could be fake buzz, but if it's real buzz, then I definitely want to know about it. So I went ahead and downloaded it, waited till it unlocked, played like about an hour and a half of it today, and I have to say it's actually kind of rad. I am apologies to Machine Games for not thinking they were going to pull it off because I mean I had reason. I had reason to think it wasn't going to get pulled off. It wasn't just me being mean. It was like, didn't think that was going to happen, but it feels very different from their previous work in a way that is kind of surprising to me. And it's a showpiece, dude. It's a showpiece. Is it going to be one of the games that I will select as one of my best of the year? I mean, maybe. I think it's kind of that good. It's not an action game. I mean, it is sort of, but it's not really like a shoot 'em up or anything like that. What it is, it's an immersive simulation. I had no idea. Something along the lines of like Deus Ex or Dishonored or something like that. Like that's kind of what they're shooting for here. And I did not get that sense from the trailer. So from the jump, I was kind of thrown for a loop. Basically, you play as Indiana Jones. We all know, from the films. Looks like a virtual Harrison Ford. Looks very much like him. The voice actor, I don't know who it is, but it sounds a lot like actual Harrison Ford. It does feel legit, like it feels real, like it's an actual property thing, right? Marcus, who is his friend at the museum, is there. His voice is pretty good. The likeness is really good. There's a surprise character in the first part of the game. I was shocked when I saw who it was. I was like, oh my God, I did not expect to see that person there. Not going to say who it is because it's a genuine surprise when you see them, but that was pretty cool. But basically, you start the game off with I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but like the game basically opens up with Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, leading to the temple, the golden idol on the pedestal, the rolling boulder, all that stuff, it's all recreated here in the game, like beat for beat. Like you actually go through that sequence. It's just very, I mean, what's coming, so you know how it goes, but it's still pretty fucking cool to see that as a fan and just to kind of get to play through that. They expand on it a little bit and it's just really, really cool. But that turns out to be a dream sequence. They kind of just get your whistle wet and get you ready for what's coming. Basically, Indiana's back at his university. Someone breaks into his university, steals an artifact, and Indy's got to go get it, and that's the kickoff to the adventure. He goes to the Vatican is the first place he goes, and then once you get there, you start to realize, oh shit, okay, I need to like sneak around. I need to not be seen by the fascists who are there. This is like around, World War II time. So you're keeping to the shadows. You're looking around. There's multiple paths to go. Not always, because you don't want it to be totally open, but in one of the first sections, you could brawl your way through, or you could sneak around like the rooftops, whichever way you wanted to go. For me, I brawled because I didn't see the rooftop route. And then when I came back, I'm like, oh, there was like a whole other way I could have gone. I didn't even notice that. So they give you some options there. Fighting, I think, is pretty good. You can pick up almost, not almost any object, but you can pick up many objects in the environment. Bottle of wine, wrench, shovel, whatever. Anything that looks like you can pick it up, you probably can. And then you can bash guys over the head with. If you sneak up behind them, that's a one-hit knockout. And then you can hide the body, pick up the body and hide it. And if you want to fight them, you can throw the item. You can crack your whip on them to stun them. You can use the whip to pull them forward. You can you basically just fisticuffs your way through the game, but you want to fight probably like less than sneaking to stay alive. And it's just really well done. I was in the Vatican and I'm looking around, I'm finding stuff and I'm being sneaky and I'm hitting fascists in the back of the head, which is something that I like to do. And it just all came together real well. It's super cinematic. They cut to cutscenes every now and again, and they just feel legit like Indiana Jones. The lighting is correct, the music is correct, the cinematography looks good, and so you get like these little cutscenes where he's talking to a friend or he's looking off in the distance or something, and you're like, damn, this feels like a fucking movie. And then it cuts to the gameplay, and the gameplay is like really immersive, and you're really like in the moment. Sneaking through the Vatican part was pretty cool. You know, getting to a wire and sliding down on your whip and hiding and stealing stuff. And it all just felt very, very, very Indiana Jones AF. So that's only from the first hour and a half. I'm not going to spoil anything. I didn't spoil anything for you, except for the fact that this game has surprised me with how much I'm enjoying it, surprised me with like how good it looks and feels. And it's been a while since I played one of these Sims. So I think I'm probably ready for one of these. It's been, I can't even remember the last one I played all the way through. It's been a long time, let's say. So yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I thought this was going to be a piece of crap, and it's not. It's actually pretty awesome so far. So it remains to be seen if it's going to be good all the way through. But man, I'm fucking digging this. It really grabbed me from the get-go, and it's been just pretty top class quality all the way through so far. And again, only about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but probably closer to an hour and a half all the way through. Plenty of game left over. Have not even discovered what the full mystery is. Haven't fought any Nazis yet, so there's still loads of game to come. But man, strong start. Great pacing, great tutorials, great story beats. They just really get you into the game in an excellent way. So hats off to Machine Games for making me eat crow. I'm going to eat this crow gladly. Give me the barbecue sauce, please. Glass of water also. It's kind of dry. And yeah, I'm really curious to see where this goes. This is like a very like 11th hour contender to make it on my top 10 of the year. So we shall see. I know recency bias and all that, but really this game is that good. So, all right, that is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Just a quick look there. All right. Whew, thought I didn't have enough content for this week, and I ended up having a ton. All right, folks, game portion of the show is now officially done, but like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right. It's time for the TV and movie roundup. First up, watched a horror movie, Pumpkinhead, with Lance Henriksen from 1990 or something like that. It's pretty good. I remember really liking it back in the day, rewatched it, and I still think it holds up. Basically the story of these people living out in the Appalachian Mountains. And if you're not familiar with that, that is basically like really super rural, super impoverished, kind of like hillbilly, scary zone of America, where it's kind of like, it's just a really, I don't know. It's a very unique place in America that I think a lot of scary movies are made about. No offense to anybody who lives in Appalachia. I don't know if I even know anybody who lives over there. Anyway, if you live in Appalachia, reach out. So anyway, this kid gets killed and his dad wants revenge. So he goes to one of the wise women of the mountain and she teaches him how to summon a demon, and the demon goes and gets revenge on everybody. Pretty straightforward story, but the effects from Stan Winston are pretty cool. He really leaned into the practical effects a lot, and they spend a lot of time showing Pumpkinhead because they're really proud of their work. He looks cool. He looks kind of like an alien a little bit, like the Giger alien. He's tall, scary looking, kills a lot of folks. It's a pretty cool movie, pretty straightforward, but I think it's well done. So Pumpkinhead is cool. We watched Spontaneous. This is it's classified as horror, and it's not really horror though. It's kind of like a coming of age teen love story with the complicating factor that kids in this one particular town are spontaneously exploding into like blood splashes. So you'll just be hanging out, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, just, and then the kid's gone, their clothes are empty, and there's blood like all over the place. So it's kind of horrific, but it's not really a horror movie. And the story is about like these two kids who kind of meet each other and fall in love while all this stuff is happening, while these kids are blowing up into blood splashes. You know, how do you survive that trauma? What does it mean for you? How do you live life when you're surrounded by terrible things? You know, can you find love? What does it mean? It's a really sweet and touching story. I felt it was a very true story. I really connected with a lot of those elements from when I was younger, you know, back as a young man, romancing, you know, my first girlfriend, or just kind of being out in the world and being a young person trying to find my way. I think the writers and the director were really on track with this one. It's quite good, very touching. It's funny and it's sad and it's a little bit scary just because it was tense, because you never knew when someone's going to blow up. It really had me on the edge of my seat in that sense. But overall, Really sweet and really heartfelt. Big thumbs up for Spontaneous. I thought that was quite good. Let's see what else. Finished G.I. Joe Renegades, the cartoon I've been talking about for the last couple weeks. Excellent. They did kind of bring it to a conclusion, which was great. I was afraid it was going to just stop, so I'm glad that happened. I'm not going to bang on about it again, but it was really quite good. 26 episodes, nice and tight, but enough to really kind of sink your teeth into it. Love the characters, love the IP, love the reimagining of the G.I. Joe mythos. It's fucking rad. I am now retroactively mad at Hasbro for canceling it because they had such a good thing going and they didn't realize it. Excellent show. G.I. Joe Renegades, big thumbs up. After we finished Renegades, we watched G.I. Joe Resolute, which some people call the forgotten movie of G.I. Joe, which I guess is appropriate because I didn't even know it existed until maybe like a couple weeks ago. So someone in the Videogames Discord suggested it to me because, again, I didn't know that it existed. And I want to say it was Way to Go. Pretty sure it was Way to Go who said that. I could be wrong, though. I went back to the chat to see if I could find it. I couldn't find it. So if that was Way to Go, thank you very much for suggesting it. It was rad. And if it wasn't Way to Go, then I apologize because my memory is faulty. And if it was you and I am not crediting you properly, please let me know and I will give you props. Basically, it's a one-shot. It's a 1 hour movie that, from my understanding, was originally shown in 5, 11-minute segments or something like that. And so they broke it up into 5 pieces. It's told like 24, the TV series, where everything happens in one day, where Cobra unleashes their world domination plan in the morning, and then G.I. Joe takes action throughout the middle of the day, and then they wrap it up before dinner time. And so the whole thing is broken up into bit by bit by bit in a single contained alternate universe story. And I say alternate universe because it's slightly different takes on the characters that we know, but also in this universe, it's a little bit more lethal. It opens with one of the main characters being dead, one of the main Cobra characters being dead. Soon after, you find out one of the more prominent G.I. Joe members dead. Later on in the show, I think at least 2 more characters, like named characters, actually die. They get killed, no doubt about it. And so that was kind of shocking. Some of the violence was a little bit on the graphic side for G.I. Joe. And it was just a pretty kind of straightforward, kind of rough, brutal take. But it was pretty cool. I really digged it. And they kind of portrayed it like if G.I. Joe was real, how would this work? You know, they have a lot of support staff. They've got intel agents who are back at headquarters. They're doing a lot of satellite searching. It's not just run out in the field with a laser gun and pew, pew, pew. It was we need to figure out logistics. How can we get there? How can we bring the material we need? Where can we find the information? And then, they go into action after that. Fucking great. And the whole thing is literally 1 hour long. Really cool action. Really cool. Another different take on G.I. Joe. And again, self-contained. You can watch the whole thing in 1 hour, and that's all there is to it. Written by Warren Ellis, really famous comic book writer, has written some good stuff. So he was really bringing his A game here. I will say the ending was a little bit abrupt. It did end. I mean, it was fine. It came to the conclusion, but a little bit abrupt. I would have, I could have used a little bit more of a denouement there to get French on you for a second. But overall, definitely recommend it. And for an hour every time, that is time well spent. In other cartoon news, the wife and I started watching Creature Commandos on Max. This is based in the DC Comics universe, and I think it's a comic book. I don't think I've read that one, but basically they take the Suicide Squad idea put together by Amanda Waller, character in the DC universe, and instead of doing bad guys who go on suicide missions because they have bombs planted in their head and they must comply, they take monsters. There's the Weasel, there is the Bride, who's the Bride of Frankenstein, there's a fish girl, there's a radioactive scientist, and I feel like there's something else I'm forgetting. I don't remember. But it's a bunch of motley monsters who get sent to this country to protect this ruler from potential terrorist attacks, and they're all going there kind of against their will. They don't like each other very much. It's kind of, the usual comic book team dynamic thing. But the art is pretty sharp, and it's interesting to see these characters that I'm not very familiar with, and I bet a lot of people out there are not familiar with either. It's definitely an adult-oriented cartoon. There is some sex in the second episode it's not the most graphic I've ever seen, but it's definitely graphic sex happening. There's no doubt about that. Definitely some harsh language. People get shot in a pretty bloody way, so it's not for the kids. Definitely grown up. And I want to say it's just this side of being nasty. I've talked about this before, where I don't mind violence or sex or swearing or anything. I can watch anything, as long as it doesn't feel mean-spirited. And I know that's a really hard thing to define, right? And I guess it's like that old definition of pornography is I I can't define it, but I know it when I see it, right? And it's kind of like the same thing with me. So this is, I believe, written by James Gunn, who made it big with Guardians of the Galaxy, and then he switched over to DC, did the Suicide Squad and something else. And it's pretty good so far, but there's a couple moments where I'm like, that was almost like really mean-spirited. Like, it didn't quite get there. And after we watched the first 2 episodes, I looked over at my wife and I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, yeah, it's good, but it was almost too nasty. And I'm like, yeah, I know what you mean, right? Like, it got close. It didn't cross the line, so we're still watching. But I don't mind, people can get decapitated, people get shot, they can have sex on screen, people can say fuck all day long, as long as it all seems to gel. But as soon as it crosses into that line of like, we're doing this just to be mean to a character, then we're out. So I can't define it any more than that. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. But it's still on the safe side of the line right now. We're going to watch some more. It's been pretty cool so far. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's see what else. I think I talked about this a while ago, but my son and I are going through the original Dragon Ball cartoon series from Akira Toriyama. Not Dragon Ball Z. Not that stuff. The original ass Dragon Ball. We watched the first like 40 episodes, and then we took a break and just forgot about coming back to it. The whole thing is on Hulu, I believe, the entire series. I think there's like altogether like 150 episodes or something crazy like that, 180 episodes or whatever. And it's crazy shit, dude. Like, it's really, really crazy. Goku as a little boy is really funny. He's super innocent. He goes on this like adventure to find the Dragon Balls. He meets tons of people. They get into like lots of fights. But a lot of the stuff that happens in this cartoon is just like really whack, and you would never expect it. And especially, it's not something you would ever see in a Western cartoon. Like, you can tell it's not from America. Like, he'll get naked sometimes, and you see his little twig and berries, and you're just like, oh my God, they're showing his junk. What the hell? And sometimes there are these people in this cartoon who are definitely like quote unquote perverts, as they're called. And they do some like risque stuff where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they just showed that. They do a lot of jokes that are pretty bawdy, and a lot of stuff you wouldn't expect to see in a quote unquote kids cartoon. So you never quite know what you're going to get. The fights are pretty cool, and it's just genuinely like laugh out loud funny. So if you've never seen the original Dragon Ball, it's a very different thing from Dragon Ball Z. Like, it almost feels like 2 just completely separate series, even though the same characters carry through. But OG Dragon Ball is really a thing. I'm really enjoying that quite a bit. Last thing I'm going to talk about this week, Skeleton Crew on Disney Plus. This is the brand new Star Wars series that posits what if a bunch of kids found an abandoned spaceship and accidentally flew into space and warped away from their home planet. It is pretty good. I was really surprised. We saw the trailer with like, let's give it a shot. I have not been into Star Wars lately. I fell off of the last series of Mandalorian. It didn't really click with me. I did not bother watching The Acolyte. I did not like the political one, whatever that one was called. I just have been kind of out of Star Wars lately. I just feel like it's not really going in my direction, but we gave this one a shot, and it's really, really great. It's very reminiscent of the 80s movies where a kid would find a pirate ship or a spaceship, or he would go on a cross-country adventure or whatever. And it's like the whole vibe of like kid going on a big adventure in over his head, trying to find friends along the way, barely making it through. Like, there's like a million of these films. It was so big in the 80s. And I think the publisher. No, not the publisher either. I think the director, I'm tired. I gotta end the show. I think the director really understood that genre. They lean into it. Like, it's very good-hearted. The kids kind of rib each other. They're struggling, but they don't mean anybody any harm. They make a lot of dumb kid mistakes that are kind of funny, but also kind of dangerous. They fly off in space, and they meet some pirates, and then we get a really amazing creature cantina sequence, which I think is actually better than the original. You're in a whole new place, and just the way that the kids are going to this station that's not for kids is very cool. You get to see things from their perspective and see how things are so scary when you're small, and just everything about it is just really, really good. It feels like the best like 80s kids adventure movie that we never got back then, but updated with modern technology. The CG is amazing, and the performances are quite good, I gotta say. I think all the child actors they've chosen so far have been quite good, which I know is difficult. Some kids got it, some kids don't, but I think the lead is really good. His supporting friend is great. The 2 girls are with are both great. I really like the cast a lot so far. So I'm definitely in. It's very cool and very entertaining. I like it a lot. This is like one of those Star Wars movies that kind of does its own thing and gets away from the Star Wars saga, which I'm really happy about. So definitely a thumbs up. Only 2 episodes so far. They're doing the weekly drop thing, which boo sucks. I mean, wait till it all, releases if you want to binge it all, but we had to jump in, and I really just want to watch another one right now. I really would like to see more of this. It's great stuff. So big thumbs up to Skeleton Crew. Very cool stuff. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, I would love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, and most important of all, please recommend it to your friends, because nothing beat good old word of mouth. Also, if you want to support the show and help with the cost of running the podcast, you can do that. Patreon.com/the So Videogames podcast. If you want to join the Discord, that is free of charge. And as always, I want your questions and comments. Hit me up in the Discord or email me directly, SoVideoGamesPodcast@gmail.com, or hit me up on social media. You can find me on Instagram or Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway. All A's, no O's. And this is going to do it for episode 418. Thank you so much for joining me here in the So Videogames podcast, and we'll see you next week.